Organissima, New York. Your exotic skin, hair, and beauty source, and your one-stop shop for all your natural and organic skin and hair care, featuring authentic organic Moroccan oil and prickly pear seed oil and much more. Bringing you only the best, straight from the source and proudly produced in the USA. So what are you waiting for? Shop today. Organissima, New York. Your beauty is our duty.
Back to the Sales World channel and iHealth Radio, as well as with your host, Hurricane H. As always, try to bring you some awesome guests and topics. And today's topic, again, we're in the theme of business. While it may not be related to health, business affects health big time. And we've always talked about that, in previous shows. But really, we're going to talk about a concept, with just someone that's amazing that I have today for you. It's someone that worked, and just like most of us, in the government and so on and so forth, but took a journey to success, created a company that made it to the 500, in the nation, top 500 companies, a Fortune 500. That's pretty loud. I mean, it's amazing. And as I said earlier to him, I am humbled and privileged and honored to have him with me on the show today and to get his wisdom and to share with you guys as you watch or listen some good nuggets that can help you guide your future and establish a better life. So with me, without any further ado, I have Tyler Horsley. He's a CEO, he's an investor, he's a private equity, business growth advisor, board member, speaker. He's as I said, 500 company, Fortune company, made that. He's a philanthropist, and so AI builder. I mean, here's a lot of stuff, and I can list the whole, enumerate all these things, and they sound great, and they are great, but there's no one that can give us more depth into that, other than Tyler. Tyler, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you. I'd add that I also love pizza, just to throw it off there a little bit. Add that to the list.
Is there anyone who doesn't?
I don't know.
I doubt it, man. I think pizza is a universal food. So
yeah, good.
Well, listen, welcome, man. Welcome. And really, this is awesome to have you on. And really, I mean, there's so much stuff that we're going to be talking about today in terms of business, opportunity. But let's do first things first, as always. Let's start with your journey, because, you work for the federal government for, a period of time. So let's start with your journey from, the beginning, how you got into the federal government, how you got out of the federal government, why, and then what took you into the business world and how you thrived in and how you did and what you do today to help people do the same and grow their businesses.
Sure. Yeah, you got it. My journey is a random one. So I feel, and this isn't a good thing, back to health, I feel as if I've lived 3 lives already. And so maybe in my mind, or at least my body, sometimes I feel like I'm at least in my late 50s or early 60s. I'm only 36, so I don't think that's a good thing. But yeah, I know.
Dude, you look young and healthy and everything. So I hope that everything else is functioning well. But
oh yeah,
so that's all that matters, dude. You're just being humble. I mean, you look the age and you're there. So don't worry about it.
Yeah,
let the age be our problem.
All right. Yeah. So I guess in just related to health stuff too, I'll kind of integrate this as well. Just to your point, and I'd say just even before I dive in, there's a lot of qualifiers that people have when they come on shows. I've listened to episodes of yours and more, and to your point, happy we're finally able to schedule. But outside of qualifiers, there is a lot of experience and pain. And some of that pain, certainly has a toll on health, mental health, physical health, you name it. And so just kind of walking you through my story, I'll include all of those, not just the shiny objects. But I started out in federal law enforcement, followed my dad's footsteps. So he worked for Department of Homeland Security. I ended up becoming a federal officer with DHS as well. Worked for the IRS, which was not fun at all in any way. I don't imagine a lot of people out there think highly of those folks either. It's even worse working there. So love my coworkers and some of my managers, but anyway, I'll move on. And then I finished that segment of my first career in life in a military contracting group. And so we did contracting for the United States government, and I just worked in logistics. I was not jumping out of helicopters or doing anything crazy like that. And basically had a health, nuclear bomb hit my life, and I had almost complete adrenal failure. And so anybody who is familiar with that, adrenal fatigue and more, and this is the part where, everybody becomes a hypochondriac, but I mean, it's, issues with regulating heat, heart rate, panic attacks, brain fog galore. And I didn't really know what was going on. And what I found out later, I was burning the candle at both ends, working, genuinely, working my full-time job. And then I work at a restaurant at night and more. And that's kind of how I've been since I was a kid, product of my environment and being raised. It was performance driven, wasn't a bad thing, obviously. But there's some, downsides that come with that. So fast forward, I thought it'd be good to get into a different field where I could still leverage computer skills, investigative skills, and more. Found myself in digital marketing, which I know is an odd jump, but I was able to deconstruct competitors, figure out how this really works on the back end, and then ultimately work remotely anywhere, not have to wear a badge and go into an office or anything, but actually help business owners grow. And I've always kind of had the gift of gab, so to speak. I like talking. And so in sales, and so I was like, great, these business circles far more interesting and entertaining, and I felt at home. And so I grew nuclear networking with a couple partners in a basement up by Boulder, Colorado. We were broke. We did the ramen thing. I mean, all your cliche, stereotypical startup stories. That was us, and ended up, growing at 100% year over year. And as you mentioned in the intro, hit the top 5% on the Inc. 5000 list. And yeah, so here we are.
I got to take a breather. There's a lot of good stuff there. So I want to dissect it, man, because there's so much stuff there that's packed in that brief description of your journey to date. But first of all, it's a lot. You said you gave the age of 36. That's a lot of achievement, I would say, for, not even mid-age. I mean, that's still young age. I mean, you haven't hit the 40s mark. That's when you get the whole crisis, right? So that's a lot of good stuff, right? You're 40 under, what is it? 30 under 30, 40 under 40. You're still on that big mark, and you probably can make that as well. So first of all, you talked about we're going to talk about the career path, but the idea of your health, right?
Right.
And the element of working too much, double.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is a topic that people sometimes ignore. Work-life balance is a critical thing, right? And we all make that mistake because we have ambition, and sometimes we just have bills, and we have to work, right? And what happens with that thing is that we do a lot of work and we put in a lot of hours, and sometimes we don't eat well, we don't rest well, we do everything wrong to our bodies, and sometimes you do the business of eating junk and all the bad stuff. Bad decisions, right? And ultimately it impacts your health. And so for our audiences, this is something that we all have to be aware of. Doesn't matter what you do, doesn't matter what path you want to choose, you got to take care of this, right? Mind, body. I mean, these things have to happen together, otherwise you're going to have an issue. Now, when you talk about adrenaline failure, I mean, that's like, it's bad. I mean, it could be really, did I say adrenaline? I forgot the term you used.
Oh yeah, adrenal failure. Yeah.
Adrenal. There you go. I don't know why adrenaline, but I guess the excitement, right? Adrenal. Yeah. So basically, your glands and all the stuff is controlling things are just off whack, and that's a problem, right? And so we don't want that, folks. Right? You want to work, you want to succeed, but you do not want it to have an impact on your health. And you obviously made a decent choice to take care of yourself and transit to something that's going to take you to the next level. You did. But now I want to go back to your federal, journey, and you work for the federal government. I mean, that's great, and thank you for the service there, because that's Homeland Security is big. We want that to happen, right? Now you mentioned the IRS. I'm pretty sure you learned some few tricks. So there's always a learning experience. So we're gonna take the positive of it. You know,
We do not thank you for that service. No, I'm just kidding.
listen. I mean, somebody's got to pay the bills, right? You know, somebody's
Uh,
got to watch the funding, right? But you know, I know they're brutal and they take care of business, and that's part of it, right? You got to pay your dues, your taxes, right? But you know, and without going on a negative path, but the idea is, I'm sure that it's as an experience, you picked up a lot of things there that does help, because IRS is taxes, is how, you know, all the loopholes and the good things and the bad things. You will know the tricks better than most of us. Therefore, you can apply some of those things, and that's important, right? That's intelligence. And so I'll take all that, you know, any given day as an experience and expertise. So that's that. And I love the idea you said that your family, you know, your dad is in law enforcement, and therefore you actually joined, and there's nothing wrong with that. Actually, again, that's admirable, and you did it. But again, you did it. Normally, people don't leave the federal government that,
right.
because it's like, you know, it's 25 years. I forget. I think that's what it
Yeah.
is. Right, you have to work here. So you did an early cutoff, and you just you know, walked out of it, which is fine. I mean, it's not for everyone. It can be painful. Now you mentioned government contracting, or,
Mhm.
you know, and and logistics. Most people will think, you know, we have, you know, some wars, and we have government contractors and things like that,
Right.
and defense contracts, and so that could be also an interesting, you know, job in its own. And I love what you said. We're not jumping off helicopters and planes and stuff. You're doing your thing, you know, and doing the logistics, which logistics stuff can be a painful thing. But again,
Mhm.
these are all things that you've gained expertise with,
Mhm.
that you were able to apply in the next phase of your life, which got you to where you are today. I love what you said about you started with a bunch of friends, and I love the work. I mean, you throw that first. You said I had a nuclear bomb that hit my health,
Yeah.
but then because the word nuclear remains with you live,
Right.
and you created network nuclear networking, and so we're gonna talk about what that does, and you know, we talked about digital marketing. But that's an important piece. Like, you figured out there is a need out there, and we can help people, and you were able to break that down with a bunch of
Right.
friends and create an opportunity. This
Right.
opportunity is helping opportunities create themselves now and grow bigger and better, right? So let's talk about that. Well, why the idea? I mean, digital marketing. You did say that you transited, you know, and it was a leap of an idea. I mean, but that's like completely odd. What
Mhm.
gives?
I know. Yeah, it is an odd jump. I think that it kind of catered to. I have maybe more of like a mischievous profile, but I was raised with good values, so I use that for good. But I like to find out why things work and kind of push buttons a little bit, and that's what sparked interest around investigations. It's like trying to solve problems, and not just puzzles, but like people. And so that's why I got into profiling and worked in the government and did those things. But I could actually, this was far more fun, right? It's like I can use a lot of the profiling metrics and just some of those skill sets that I learned and or polished, and leverage those to help people win and grow their business, and positively impact other people's lives. Nonprofits as well, right? Because they have a big heart to give, but there's not a lot of seasoned business people in the nonprofit world, and so we're kind of able to add value there. But yeah, I think it's a mix of that, as well as the ability to work from home at the time, just because of the health stuff. And that was definitely a blessing in disguise. I know it doesn't feel like that at the time when you get smacked in the head, you know, and life comes to a screeching halt, because everything I had worked for prior stopped. Like I had to quit because I couldn't actually cognitively, do the job that was required at the time, because I was in the bottom of the health curve there until I recovered. But by the time I had recovered, I didn't have the interest and the business appetite and the ability to kind of grow, and the affirmation that I received, not from other people, but just the successes that I had seen in business. I'm like, wow, I am like built for this. This is strange, because I didn't go to school for this at all. And so, yeah, related to the word nuclear networking, I actually worked with a futurist, Tom Fry. He's a kind of a family friend. He's out of Colorado here. And we were just going through, and this was like years before I actually created the company. And I was just kind of visioning, like, I want to I feel like I need to start a company at some point, and it needs to be powerful, but it needs to be, network defines net worth. And in a transactional society, I want to speak to relationships. And so we came up with the name and bought the domain, and who knew, 10 plus years later, I would be, building an organization and actually selling it to private equity. So pretty cool.
Well, listen, I mean, it's definitely a success story. And I love what you said about you hit a certain bottom level in terms of your health. You had to stop. For a lot of people, that could be the point of no return. Sometimes, and again, for our audiences, we want to give them the feel that no matter what happens, no matter how bad things can get, just know that there is, again, light at the end of the tunnel. You can, if you look at it right away, and you don't just, give up, you should be able to, just come right up, and the other side with a victory moment, right? And you just did that, right? And it helped you, served you well at the end of the day. I mean, your health is better. You were able to rejuvenate everything and reset, and you did well. The concept, I love it. I mean, the word nuclear is just I mean, it gives you that amplitude, right? It's big, but smart idea, and and you're right. Networking is big. You talked about profiling. Now, anybody that from a movie perspective, we've seen profilers, FBI profilers and things, and how they try to figure out, a person's character and things like that. That's just the big lines. There's more to that work, obviously, but that's a big work. But you're right. You're right. I mean, it does link to marketing, to consumers, and trends and stuff. And when you think about like the habits, the behaviors, all that is exactly that. So you used it from one type of mode into a different mode, and then you create a whole concept behind it, and now the concept is out there, huge. So again, chapeau to you, man. That's slick and very smart. So let's talk about the concept itself, the networking piece. I mean, just to add it up for our clients here, or audiences, I would say. My mind is like in the business clients, right? Our audiences, viewers, and listeners, right? The concept is, it has a digital marketing spin. It has a networking spin. So let's tie that up. Explain to us how it works.
Sure. Yeah. So just even from personal experience, before talking about deliverables, the best advice that I got, and the best advice that I try to give is, regardless of where you're at in life, whether you're a business owner, not a business owner, or you're in a tough season, health issues, finance, whatever that might be, finding a mentor is super key, and a mentor who shares or lives the same values that you abide by, not says, but actually lives and shows it, because those two things are different. And then also that mentorship, preferably somebody who's already kind of, fought a lot of the dragons, so to speak, that you're fighting right now, or hit a lot of the walls and can prevent you from doing those things as well. And so I sought out and was blessed to have, several mentors in my life who have already done business and built and sold companies and those types of things, successfully in their life. And so that, back to the value of network or networking, and like that was one of the biggest pieces for me. You've also heard, shamelessly ripping it off, but network defines net worth, or there's proximity and power. One of the things that I learned really well, because I lived in the Midwest initially, and the population of my state was like 1 million people. It's not a lot. Like, there's more people in Denver than in, the entire state that I grew up in. So I was like, maybe I should move and kind of surround myself with more like-minded individuals who are chasing business. They're performers or achievers or whatever you want to call them. They're just, functioning humans that really want to make an impact or build something. And so I was able to join a group out here called EO, and basically meet other business owners and more. And then you can kind of mentor each other, or at least at minimum, you have community to kind of walk through these things with. So at a high level, I carry those methodologies through our business deliverables as well. And so every business owner, many have heard of marketing. They've probably heard of acronyms: SEO, SEM, PPC, CRO. There's tons of them. But ultimately, business owners in general are looking to marketers to grow their revenue. That's usually the reason. And so what we try to do is educate preliminarily before we even put money behind traffic, paying for traffic and advertising, let's hurry up and just get out there. We try to think through the lens of relationships again. So if you're going on a date, the first time you meet a person, you're not going to say, "Hey, would you like to get married?" You just met them.
Oops.
Oops. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Exactly.
It's over.
Business works the same way, but we don't like that. We put out ads. "Hey, do you need a roofer? Here, we're a roofer. Buy from us." It's like, that's weird. There's 4,000 other people doing the same thing you are right now. What's going to make you stick out, right? And so we try to walk people through workshops and help them answer those questions. And just a question for the listeners too, if you are a business owner or interested in starting a business, it's kind of like, if I lined you up with 10 other competitors in your space and you only had 10 seconds to tell me why I should choose you instead of everyone else, what would you say? And if the answers are, we've been in business for 15 years and we have 5-star rating, and it's like, those are good, but they're generic. Everybody has that. And so what we try to help them realize is like, what problem and pain are you solving for the people that you want to work with? What goals are you helping them reach? Because it's back to humans, relationship. Can we speak to those? And if we can put that down in words and we facilitate that entire process, can we give them an offer they can't refuse? Something they'd feel foolish saying no to. Value, right? Like, can we lead with value? "Hey, I know we've just met. We're complete strangers. I think you're trying to solve this problem and you're probably tired of this pain. Let me show you how I can solve that for free," or X, Y, and Z. And so that's kind of the method in which we kind of tie those two worlds together, networking and marketing. And then once we have that messaging down, then we go, basically floor it on marketing and driving qualified traffic to increase revenue.
Ooh, that's pretty intense. And by the way, I love the term network, and then network. Net worth. Network is really a big deal. It's the connections, is how you connect with people, how you make it happen, who you work with. A lot of people sometimes don't leverage that, right? They don't leverage that opportunity, and there's plenty of that, or they use it the wrong way. I mean, there's that. The concept that you talked about, value, and I love what you said about if you have 10 seconds or a minute to actually differentiate yourself from the rest, what would that be? And you're right. Most people will just highlight whatever they think is, appealing versus what makes them different and unique, and what that signature is for the customer and the consumers or the clients for that matter, right? So that angle is unique. And I think everybody in business should have that. What is my value? What makes me different from the rest? And you're right. You're not going to be the only it in the market. I mean, for every business, there's at least 2 or 3. I mean, you took rideshare, you have Uber, Lyft, and you have Via, and there's new one that's called Black Wolf that's coming up, right? You're talking about DoorDash and Grubhub and stuff. So you get one, and then you get like 5 more that create. And this is just a couple of examples, but that's what it is. In competition, everything. Insurance companies, forget about it. That's my world. We have hundreds of them competing on, in the marketplace. So it is a difficult place. But what makes you? And by the way, it's funny that you said that, because I used to go to these panel discussions once a year, and you have about 10 plans literally sitting in front of an audience of social workers and advocates in the healthcare, and you have to present the value, like, what's the difference between you versus this. We all go through the benefits and the features of what we offer, but then there's that question. So what makes you different? Mm-hmm. And that's usually the biggest, the toughest question that everybody has to answer. And depending on who's presenting, there's always a good answer somewhere in there. But some of them are, to your point, they're like, they're cliche. There's that didn't tell me much about you. Mm-hmm. So thank you. I mean, that's a big thing for anyone that's in business, to your point, or even in the corporate world. If you're not really in business, but in the corporate, this is important to understand. If you're in the competitive space and lead in some sort of a department of sales, or whatever the case may be. So Tyler, we're talking business, right? Business is scary. You said it yourself. You started, from a basement opportunity and build the concept. Most people have fear of getting there, because when you start, it is hard. I mean, there's a lot of failure that can come with it. Now, I don't believe in the term failure personally, but everybody knows what that word means. It's just that you're not doing good, or you might just not, continue the opportunity and drop it, right? That happens.
Mhm.
What are some of the things that you have, I guess, met in with your clients to, that are new businesses, or at least people are interested in getting more action?
Yeah, there is fear, and I think that just human nature in and of itself is like people typically run towards a goal or they run away from something they're afraid of. And for me, I would love to carry the story of, I built the business out of sheer confidence and totally knew what I was doing. I had health stuff. I didn't have the opportunity to go back to work and work a job and make revenue. I had to make it work, right? So mine was more maybe, born out of survival instinct, and then it kind of, which is a really good motivator. So it's like, to your point, if you have to pay bills, you got to pay bills and figure it out. And if you have the work ethic to do that, you will, right? So with other business owners that we work with, they're at different stages. Some are independent reps, they're selling maybe a product for a company or service. Others have started the organization themselves. Some of them have taken out loans. Like, as an example, I never didn't even think about that, didn't take out a loan or go into debt or anything like that. I just winged it. And if you're in service industry, you can do more of that because it's just your time. That's your investment. It's not hard money. But this is one of the biggest reasons we try to help business owners stop and think about that story first, because the alternative that I haven't shared on the podcast yet is, and I've seen this a lot, companies burn through marketing agencies like nobody's business. They're like on their seventh agency right now. And it's I'm going to use hyperbole and be sarcastic on purpose. So, but it's always the marketing agency's fault. It's they're just out to get you, et cetera, et cetera. Reality is their websites might not be great. People might not trust them. And one of the interesting things about billboards, radio, digital marketing, anything that you buy online, even standing up in front of a crowd and talking about what services you sell, you can't force humans to buy. And I can bring them into that crowd. And if they're interested in what you're selling, I can put them in front of you. I cannot force them to buy. And, if somebody botches the pitch, or they have an untrustworthy website, or they're charging way too much, or they can't answer those questions, what makes you different than everybody else? That might not be a market or a traffic issue, right? That's more of a positioning and branding issue. And so by leading with that and helping people understand that the moment we meet them, frankly, it saves them a lot of money and a lot of heartache, because they've been told at conferences and more, I just need traffic. I need SEO and drive me traffic, drive me leads. And it's like, we can, but if you got 1 million leads tomorrow and nobody closes, is that really the end result? Is that what you're looking for? Or are you looking for new business? And so that's kind of just how we approach, whether they're, business owners are just starting, or they're sole reps representing a bigger product, or they're Fortune 500 companies that are still on their third agency. So.
Well, so thank you for breaking that up, because that is a big world right there. I mean, the marketing world is huge, right? And to
Yeah.
your point, any agency can drive the traffic to you, and they know how to do that. The problem, to your point, is like, is your service the right service? Are you going to be able to deliver? Are you able to handle the actual lead volume? I mean, you get tons of leads, you don't return calls on time, that's gone. If
Nailed it.
you have the phone call, like you even have a call center, right? And
Yeah.
your whole time is long, and people are not getting responses, and you're not giving them the pitch right. And that's the other thing. I mean, there's a percentage. I mean, there's always a ratio of like the close ratio, conversion ratio of leads, right? So there's
Yep.
all these things, and to your point, so there now, don't get me wrong. I mean, there is some level of expertise that agencies can highlight themselves versus others, and then some
Mhm.
of them are legit and they really give you the stuff. Sometimes you get some fluff, and then again, I'm no,
That's right.
that. I mean, not every. And by the way, you can't control that. I mean, you put a call to action, people do interact, like sometimes, like, let me just see what this is, I might not be interested. And so that's the fluff, and it comes from an ad, it doesn't matter, there's nothing you can do, that comes with the package.
Right.
Yeah, but I love what you said, is like how you narrow things by doing that initial assessment of like really what makes you different. So when you design stuff, it's designable in a way that is really attractive, and it makes sense, right? It does work. So again, I love what you said, because for people that are starting off, any business, money can be a problem. And you said it. I mean, you
Right.
could burn through different agencies and it costs money. I mean,
Right.
how many agencies you're going to go through, right? How much
Right.
money is going to cost you before you actually realize this is not working, or is it working, right? Those are all important things for business owners to actually, highlight. Now, you've created your company. I think you mentioned that you work also with the not-for-profits or nonprofits.
Mhm. Yeah, that's correct. Yep.
What is, I mean, ultimately, they're two different worlds. How does that work for you?
Yeah. So where that comes from is essentially initially the way I was raised, and then secondly what I believe on my own. Right. So it's like everybody listening was probably raised a certain way. Maybe you've deviated, maybe you've stayed, maybe you've developed your own ideas. But one of the biggest ideas that I could kind of translate. So I talked about like the mischievous nature and the investigative nature, and how I moved from, federal, law enforcement or profiling over to marketing. Well, the same was true. The entire reason I got into federal law enforcement to begin with was to help people. I didn't become a cop. I became a Fed. And so that was shortly, not shortly, but I guess, I went directly into the organization that was built, as a result of terrorism. And so it's like, well, maybe I can help keep people safe, or, that was the initial thought process. And so that's kind of always been a part of who I am. And again, just thank my parents for that, because some people prioritize loving others, when you're raised, which I think is a good value to instill. And so what I very quickly realized, it's like I've gone through the ringer, literally hellfire, right? Like building companies and then having health failure. By the way, even nuclear networking, there were probably maybe like 3 times I was like, hey, should I even do this anymore? You know what I mean? Or are we going to run out of money? Or like, it's not all great. There is no straight line up. It's up, slammed all the way, worse than you were before, get a lucky break, et cetera, et cetera. And so, and then you learn as you go, and I think the key to success is adaptation. It's not even like who's the richest or biggest person in the room. It's like, how quick can you evolve with change? And if you can do that well, and you're persistent, you just don't stop, that's going to be the key to success. Right. So, those are things that kind of stick out to me, just in terms of, I guess, success markers for others listening as well. So be persistent, don't give up. Yeah, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. You may not see it. Mine took 2 years.
Well, Tyler, thank you for breaking that down, because anyone, again, it's a big leap, right? I mean, to your point, you said it, you did it because you had no choice. I mean, you had to figure out. And typically that's how most successful stories have happened. There's some event, tragic or otherwise, that made, that leap for someone. This is it. I'm going to make this happen. And you just duke it out until it happens, right? You make it happen, no matter what. But you have to be persistent, resilient, and patient, because to your point, it's a lot of ups and downs. And, until you get that rhythm and you get to the nice little pace, you got to get there first, right?
Yeah.
And you have to be prepared for that. Are people really prepared for that? That's usually the question. And sometimes they're not ready for the long journey. I mean, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, as they say. You want to keep at it, and you got to keep seeing the little signs, like it's happening. There's always that, like, it's happening. I can do this. I can multiply this. And I love what you said about adaptability. If you don't adapt, technology, I mean, in your case, it's moving fast. I mean, you have AI, you have this, you have that. If you're behind you're still on paper, print, or whatever, you're not into the SEO world and whatever, those real tech stuff, like the acronyms that you mentioned, we got issues, right? And so, but there are people still behind in this world, and they're still using some traditional stuff, which is fine, but again, results may vary, as they say. But I love the idea that there is, an opportunity for everyone. You just have to be consistent and don't give up. So thank you for bringing that to our, folks, because people are probably like wondering, like, well, you succeeded. How long did it take you?
Totally.
When you say 10 years, I mean, it sounds great, but like, what was the first couple of years like, right?
Oh yeah, not good. And one of the pieces, like, back to that, it's like some people, they're going to have different levels of persistence and more. And that, back to nonprofit, is what do, most nonprofits exist just to serve others. And they may not have, again, the business acumen, the marketing acumen. They may not know all of the new tech, this, that, and the other. They're relying with their hands out on people to write checks to help keep those missions going. And so that's kind of where that stuck to me. I'm like, geez, like not only is being a business owner hard, running a nonprofit can be even more difficult because you don't even have a product that guarantees revenue. Like you're literally panhandling, hoping that people care about your mission as much as you do. And so, in or outside of nuclear, more on an advisory role, I'll sit on boards and help them kind of comb through finance, new marketing and positioning, and ways to start self-generating revenue versus just, operating with their hands out and helping the visionaries who founded those companies who are stuck wearing like 38 other hats and they're really stressed, but they can't give up. Like sometimes business owners out there, independent contractors will get this, but sometimes when you build a business, it feels like you build a prison because you're like, oh, I can't quit. Like this is really my only source of income, but I can't get out. I can't train anybody. And if you're a nonprofit owner, it's even worse because not only do you feel those things, like now you have this sense of guilt that you're letting everyone else down that your nonprofit serves. And so this is kind of this is more of, again, philanthropic, not related to nuclear. I use nuclear networking as a vehicle to help them market and do these things, but that's just more of a personal passion as well.
Well, that is powerful and really honorable. I love what you said. You got into the federal, program because you want to do the right thing and help people, right? And really help lives. And you're doing that now in a different aspect of it. And again, that's important. I mean, it is always important to have a good mission with your work, no matter what you do. Mm-hmm. And you have that's part of the value, right? And giving back is important. I mean, yes, you have your own success, but you're also taking some of that expertise and helping others kind of, get through the motions. Because to your point, I mean, not for profit is really difficult. You always you rely on grants and funding and stuff. And how do you, and to your point, I mean, you gotta have. Most people think you're not for profit. You don't have staff. You get some volunteers, but you do have some basic, elements that need to actually run the operation, and those cost money, and you need to be able to generate enough of it. So now you are an AI builder. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, that's through nuclear networking. My old business partner, we basically developed a platform to automate a lot of on-site SEO and build backlinks.
So that's important. Now let's talk about backlinks. That's probably one of the hottest things that you need to have in order for you to have traffic to your site, right?
So here's a disclaimer on that, because some SEO is going to listen to this and try to knock me down a little. But here's general truths. Core ranking factors, or factors that Google or search engines deem the most important, change at every given time. But traditionally, it's 3 steps. And so I'll just give this to everybody, even if you're not a marketer, because people are probably like, what's backlinks? Some people out there, which is fine. So if you look, we're talking about SEO, search engine optimization here. If your website is a home, content are the bedrooms, the living room, the den. This is where people come into your home, your website, and they learn about who you are, they engage with you. Content is crawlable, which is basically a fancy term for Google sees who you are, what you're saying about yourself, etc. So you have a website, you have a home, you have content, you have rooms. So content is one ranking factor. Another ranking factor is on-site SEO or technical SEO, which is a fancy term for before you invite people over, is your house clean? Like, is your home well optimized? Are you going to pass inspection by Google? Or is your site loading slow? Nothing's optimized. Bots have no idea what you want to do. So that's the second ranking factor. Are you going to pass inspection? Are you algorithmically compliant, right? The third piece that's a major ranking factor is link building. So we call that offsite SEO. These are things this is the equivalent of building roads to the home that you have so people can actually find you and you show up online. So if you only do 2 out of the 3 of those things, if I only did on-site SEO and link building, but no content, I may not rank well. If I only did content and on-site SEO, I may not rank well. So that's why all those things are important. But to your point, and the reason that we created an AI or machine learning platform to help automate a lot of this is because it's one of the most monotonous things, if done well, in the SEO world. You have to cold call, cold email. Hey, can we put a link on your website? I know you have no idea what a link is or who I am, but can I pay you to, it's a nightmare. So we've basically automated all of that in our space.
I think you've given the most, simplified version of what those things really I love the analogy. It's very clear picture to people. Now, and I love, again, you talked about that adaptability, and you did. I mean, you create this automation because it makes lives. Now, you talked about all these things. If you don't rank well because you're missing one or the other of those three components, do you assist companies also in potentially getting their house cleaned and structured properly?
Of course. Yeah. Everything.
It's full service.
Right.
Again, it's
The
important.
whole thing, start to finish. Yeah. Content creation, keyword optimized content. We train them on how to use natural language processing, ChatGPT-4 for content inspiration and generation. And yeah, it's the whole thing.
All right. Well, no, that's important because people are going to be like, well, they want to use your service. They just need to make sure that you do all that, because I think that's important. Now you're also an investor.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the power of investing. How important is that?
Well, so here's a couple themes that I want to make sure come through. Started my company because I was in survival mode, right? And it happened to align with my values, which I think gives you that extra push during hard times because you want to do something that you believe in. So there's that. Investing. We all lived through 2020. Anybody listening to me right now likely has. When I grew this organization and put my literally blood, sweat, and tears into it, lack of sleep and more, and then you lose 40% of your clients overnight, you start thinking a little differently. And one of the biggest things that what I want to take away from what I want listeners to take away is you don't just invest because generally you're supposed to be a successful person and invest. For me, sometimes, like in law enforcement, you ask someone to do something, then you tell them, and then you make them. I have to be made.
I like that. That's a good one.
Yeah. It's not a fun way to learn. Maybe somebody else out there can give me a shout out. Maybe you're the same, but for some reason, sometimes in life, I don't get things right away, and I got to be smacked across the head before I'm like, whoa, what's going on? And so for me, I was like, maybe I should diversify, maybe. And by the way, I'm not, multi-millionaire at that point or anything like that, but it's like, I have some expendable income. What do I do with this? You should put it in a different pot. Not just everything digital marketing, because if internet fails or pandemic number, whatever happens, or fill in the blank, it's wise to have your bets, And so I started investing in real estate, and fortunately, I back to network, find people who if you say, oh, I don't know anything about investing in real estate, there's no way I could come up with that much money. Maybe you're right on all accounts, but if you meet people who are already doing it, give them $100, give them $1,000, whatever they're willing to take. Like, look, I'm already doing the real estate investing. Go ahead and give me this much money and I'll do it for you. Here's what that's going to buy you. That's going to buy you free education, because now those people, they want to help. Most people want to help, and they'll teach you about real estate investing, and they'll teach you what that looks like. And now you can actually park some of your money in these different businesses. And so that's kind of how I got started. The organization, the private equity firm that bought Nuclear Networking, it's actually a real estate group. And so now they've diversified and they own a lot of different companies, but I've been blessed to be able to just literally put myself in front of other people who invest. And that's probably the quickest way to learn, because your other alternatives are watch YouTube or wing it in the stock market. Right. So it's, that was my experience, and that's kind of, it's just been growing since, I invest in companies, real estate, and now I invest in things that I like as well, that I know, because I have SEO tools, I have marketing tools. I could tell you right now how many people are looking for what you sell for free. I'm like, here's how many people in your area, 14,000 people a month. In these areas, there's no competitors. If we grew this in this area, you could win and get all the business. And so if those companies meet that criteria, I will invest in those as well, and sometimes do the marketing for them.
Wow. Well, that's awesome, man. But again, I love what you said about the concept of diversifying your portfolio, right? Because you're right. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. That's an old saying, and it makes sense to actually do that. The more, because one fails, you got a few other backup plans, right? Contingencies, right. As opposed to just plan A is the only thing you have, and then it's gone, it's done, and it's over with you. So that's not important. That's not a very cool way to do things. So again, important piece for our audiences. Now, the Inc. 500 company, right? Program. How was that ranking for you? How did that work?
Yeah, so Inc. Yeah, so just for the listeners too. So there's Inc. 5000, right, which is about American entrepreneurs. You can basically apply, and what the Inc. 500 is if you rank. So there's 5,000. If you rank in the top 5% in the nation on that list, you're now in the Inc. 500. And so after growing this organization for 3+ years, losing track of time. Essentially, I was told, like, hey, have you ever thought, like, you guys have been growing rapidly, 3 to 5 years, have you ever thought about applying for the Inc. 5000 list? So anyone can apply. You do have to pay for it, and you're not guaranteed to win at all because you're going against other businesses. And what I really took away was the two ways that they kind of judge whether you win or not. First and foremost is financial growth. That's 100% what the Inc. 5000 list is. So if you've grown, I think I got the magazine over here, but the guy who's on the front page grew like 9,000% year over year. It's just ridiculous. Like,
listen, it is what it is.
Yeah, healthy companies grow 20%, to put that in perspective. So it's like, that's pretty intense. So he was definitely number one. But yeah, we were ranked, number 448 or something like that. And we had grown somewhere in the 800 to 900% range year over year for a certain sprint. And, and they do qualified earnings reports, their own version. So what that means is they don't take my word for it. I'm not filling out. They contact your accounting firm. They look at your P&Ls. They're signing NDAs, and they're making sure you are who you say you are. And second, is the story. Like, who are you? What's your story? What's your background? What have you done? And if you win, then you get published in that magazine, and you get to put the little badge on your signature everywhere you go from here on out and talk about it on podcasts. So,
listen, that's an awesome, that's an achievement, man. That's big.
Yeah.
And something to be proud of, like, many are, right? I mean, listen, there's everything you have to be proud of. I mean, the whole story, the whole journey, it's all success. And hopefully we can inspire all our audiences today to do the same, one, and also for people that might need help to reach out to you and get the help that they need to get them to the next stage. So hopefully they get their Inc. 500, as well. I mean, hey, that's what it is, right? We got to get there. Now, I think you mentioned something about selling the business.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about that, because some people, we hear this all the time. You get to a business, you grow it enough, and then you sell it. I mean, I think many of the big companies were sold over and over. And when they started small, they get sold to somebody that takes it to the next level. How does that work? Is that worth it? Is that important?
It's very important. So I don't build or invest in any companies anymore unless I know what the exit plan is. And so to put this in perspective and to kind of hyper simplify this, because there's a lot of terminology for people who don't know the space. I didn't either. I had to go through it. I honestly, and what go through it looks like is I built a company and I'm like, I think I could sell this. And then I hired an M&A firm, which stands for mergers and acquisitions. They're basically professional, groups of investment bankers and PE and more, or they have a network of people who like to buy companies, right? And I had to pay them like 30 grand. And so you pay them $30,000 and they comb through your books and they make your business, sellable on a marketing packet. And so I'm learning all these things, and I'm learning, a lot of the language like EBITDA and, what multipliers. And so to put this in perspective, if you went to sell your home tomorrow, what they would do is they'd pull comps. They'd look at other homes in the area. How much are those worth? And so that's kind of what yours is worth. And then if you have, brand new kitchen and brand new bathrooms, maybe it's
better.
More. Yeah. So selling a business is similar. If you work in marketing or services, they'll essentially pull comps and say, well, what multiples are you trading at in your market? What are companies like yours selling at? And instead of selling at a specific, 400,000 or whatever it is, they actually just apply a multiplier to your net value. So in practice, that looks like maybe you sell for 3 times your adjusted EBITDA, to reduce it from fancy language, 3 times your adjusted net profit. So if I'm making $100 a year, my company would be worth $300. So that's important, because unlike everything else in life, if you have a Sam's Club membership or Costco membership, you would think if you buy more of something in bulk, you would get a cheaper cost per unit. In business, it's almost the opposite. Not always, but more than not. So when they see a small business that screams high risk, right? Because if I lose 10 clients once I buy your company, that company could go out of business. And so what they're looking for is, what I learned very quickly is, if your company's small, you're going to get a small multiplier. If your company's over 10 million, you're going to get a way bigger multiplier because you're less risky to buy. So you learn all these. For one, you learn the lingo. And then two, you start kind of packaging these things together. And then what I really was told is like, wow, so I could sell my marketing company for 5 to 6x multiples on EBITDA, 5 to 6 times my adjusted net profit. So what I'm doing now, anytime that I start building a company, I'm like, how fast can I grow this thing? So I happen to know that you want something like 2 years of finances. You want to show, you can't just grow a company in a week and then sell it the next day. They're going to be like, dude, it hasn't even been open for a week. But if you're past 2 years, it's decent. You'll qualify for SBA and loans and other things. So now you're kind of in the picture, you're sellable. And so I don't think about the short term. How much money am I going to make right this second in the next 2 years? I'm thinking like, I need to grow this thing as big as I can. So in 2 years' time, I can sell it for 6 years of return, right? And so it's kind of a way to buy time back. And so if you go work at a job, you're only making X amount per salary per year in perpetuity. Hopefully, some of the salespeople out there, you might be on commissions, and that gets really fun. But for me, I'm like, well, I could work at a job or I could create one, but now I'm not worried about my salary. I need to pay bills. And maybe we make some profits each year. We'll take some of that, but really I'm sprinting towards that sale, because then I get 7 times what I make a year all at once. And so anybody building a company, I was told this, and it's a little dark, but you will exit your company somehow. You will either sell it, you'll go bankrupt, or you'll get hit by a bus. But you will exit at some point. You will, because we're not going to live forever, and you're not going to.
That is a fact. That is a fact. But it isn't. Thank you for being as blunt as you. That was. It's the reality of things. I mean, you have to have a plan, exit strategy for your business. Whether it's going to be inherited by your next kin, whatever, that could be the case too. I mean, some people do, but it is typical now. A lot of people start the business, and I hear this more and more, that they do it, they mature it enough to a point where it's sellable, and then just cash it out, and then they do another one. They do multiples. And they just in that business of building small business and then reselling them, basically, like almost, secondary market, if you want to call it that way, right? Yeah. And that's a plot that works. And to your point, if you were generating enough multipliers, and a bigger number than you would make, in the next 5 years, then it's worth the effort. And you're going to multiply. If you did it once, you can do it twice. I mean, you can duplicate, any business, right? Yep. Change the name, change the colors, the logo, and now you can restart another one, right? So thank you for breaking that to our audience. That's important. Now, again, we're coming to the end of the hour. I mean, it went quick. I don't know how, but it worked. But it was packed. I mean, you've given us so much stuff that really, for business, minds, and for people that want to get into business and learn about some real experiences from you're thriving and a successful CEO, and you have a lot to offer here, and we are all learning, myself included. Now let's talk about your current, company and services. How can people reach out to you, and what's that look like if someone wants to reach out to you and work with you?
Sure. Yeah. And I'd even extend it, even if you don't want to work with me. I like meeting entrepreneurs, achievers. We're weird. We're built different. We want to build things and have a big impact in some way. So you can reach out to me at, hello@nuclearnetworking.com. I'd also suggest, try to follow me on LinkedIn. I'm doing a lot of things all at once. I will give you a caveat. I don't really check my LinkedIn inbox. I know that's bad, but I get blown up like 150 times a day with spam. So
I get those.
Email is better, but LinkedIn, at least you'll be able to follow me around and what I'm doing. So.
All right. Well, so again, now, what are you looking for? A specific type of clients, or anybody that wants to basically grow the business?
Yeah, I'd say organization. So we've worked. I mean, some of the bigger clients, obviously, Brother, Chipotle. We've worked with a lot of those, Pepsi and more. But clients that where we can make the biggest and quickest impact actually tend to be under 20 million in size, and those clients also tend to benefit from a local geography or have a localized client base. So what that means is, and I know that's kind of ambiguous, but that could either be somebody like running a med spa who serves their greater city, somebody selling products. Maybe you sell products nationwide. Awesome. Do you have enough money to actually beat everybody nationally? Probably not. Maybe not. That's a little bit more difficult. So do local geographies benefit from your product or service? And if the answer is yes, those are companies that we do the best and quickest work for.
Awesome clarification. That's important. And you know what? You and I, we should be talking, after the show, because in my world, we do always look for agencies that can help, some of the growth. And so maybe there's that opportunity that we can definitely do more beyond the show today. And I do have also different guests that I talk to, and I've created these networking platforms where people can actually mingle. But the idea is that some people can use the services as well and in their businesses. So we definitely can do that. And again, audiences out there, if you're a small business or you see the perfect description of who you need to be to actually benefit quickly, and you can get the adjustments, and Tyler and team can make it work. All right, well, Tyler, it's been real. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for all the great info and insights here. It's great, and it was powerful. Thank you.
Yeah, I enjoyed it as well. Thanks for having me on.
Pleasure. So there you have it, folks. Hope you had fun, you enjoyed, you learned a few things, and definitely, check out, follow Tyler on LinkedIn, and do check out his website and see, how the company can benefit you and get you to the next level and get your Inc. 500 level as well. That being said, I'm Eric and H. We'll be talking soon. New day, new show on the topic. Bye for now.